we have to get Thomas. He sits on top of the camera so that I remember where to look at you and not over here. This is a swear-friendly podcast, and I do drop links at the end to fic that might not be family-friendly or might be not safe for work related. So there's no not safe for work content in the podcast other than swearing now. Hello, welcome all you lovely nerdy people. I am Echo, and I want to welcome you back to the Knitted Bean podcast. I will be your host today, along with Izzy, my granny dog, and Lugs, my middle-aged Karen dog behind me. This is the second take of the podcast because I had the wrong memory card in my camera, and it filled up like halfway through. So, oops, oh well. How are you all doing today? Welcome back if you've seen me before, which I highly doubt because I don't think too many people are watching me. But I'm having fun doing it, so I'm going to continue doing it because I enjoy putting things out there for fandom, and I enjoy putting things out there for knitting as well, it turns out too. And if you're new and happen to stumble upon me, then great, I'm glad to have you. This is a podcast for knitting and all things geeky, nerdy, fandom related. Fanfic, fanworks, fan art, fan knitting, which is kind of what brought me to this. I found that a lot of things in fandom and things that I was fans of inspired by knitting. And I noticed that that maybe was happening with other people too, but they were a little too, I don't know, shy to mention it. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my dog from licking her paws because Granny likes to do that, and it was really loud in the last podcast, and I didn't notice it until the very end, and I didn't want to re-record the whole thing. And for the whole first half of the podcast, she was being an angel and just sleeping, and then my memory card got full, and I had to get up, and now she's like, hey, I could lick my paws. So, pardon me if I have to like reach down and try and fix her. So, anyway, hi and welcome back, or hi and welcome to you. My name is Echo, if I forgot to mention that. I go by Bean, also is my, Buddy Bean is my pseudonym for writing. I have a couple FOs today and quite a few whips. And no acquisitions because I don't have any money to be spending, so I'm not spending any money, but that's okay because I have a beauty-mish stash to knit from, and some Recs and some fandom events coming up that I wanted to talk about that are interesting, some that I'm participating in, so that will be exciting. What I've got for you. It is incredibly cold here, you guys. It is negative 19 today, and I don't know what the wind chill is, but it's for real negative 19 Fahrenheit, which is like negative 27 or so Celsius for those of you across the ponds. And while I'm used to it being cold, that's a little excessive. I could do without that. We have about a foot of snow outside. It snowed for 3 days straight-ish. Which is great because our river was getting really low, and we don't get a lot of rain in the spring, and if we don't get enough snow in the winter, well, for one, our rivers will like dry up, and for two, we will catch on fire. It gets to be around 100 or, you know, 105, so 40-ish Celsius here in the summer. And it's dry, there's no rain, so we get a lightning strike and poof, the entire forest goes boom, or the entire grassland goes boom. So we need the snow to keep that from happening. Like, we need it to like keep the ground saturated so the grass stays green so it doesn't catch on fire. So I'm glad that we got some, because we have not gotten very much snow this winter, as much as I really don't like it, and I don't want to have to go outside in it. I was excited because I had ordered a cane a couple of months ago from Ukraine, and it's glorious, and I am just getting to test it out. My balance is not super great, and I really worry about walking on ice and snow, and so I went and actually got my dose one of the Rona vaccine. So I was excited to get that done today. I'm in the high risk group. So I went and got that done. I got to test out my cane on the ice and snow, and it worked wonderfully. I felt like 110% more stable as far as not falling on my ass goes. So that was really good, really handy, and I'm glad that it finally came. And then other than that, I really haven't left my house in like 2 weeks because there's a pandemic going on, and I am not a well person, generally speaking, which is why I'm in Group 1B. And so I don't leave my house a whole lot. Let's be honest. I sit and I knit, and that's what I do, and that's why I have a podcast. So glad for keeping me company, y'all. I'm drinking some tea from Missoula, Lake Missoula Tea Company, which is a lovely local-ish to me company for tea. They get their teas from China and Africa and all over the place. They're very careful in their sourcing, and I love them. They're just super friendly. I order from them. I get a box. It has a postcard or maybe a bumper sticker, a nice, lovely handwritten note that is not the same every time. It is different every time. So what I'm drinking today is sticky rice pure tea. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I'm not fancy, everybody. It's super cute though. It comes in these little hard, I mean hard like a brick, cakes that are individually wrapped. You can buy big bricks of pure tea, but these are just little like 1 or 2 cup servings, and you smash it up. I use my mortar and pestle to like grind it up a little and put it in my teapot, and then add my water and have my tea. It really does smell like sticky rice, and it makes the whole house smell good, and it just tastes amazing. And I really do love it. I even sent some of this to my writing partner over in Germany, and they love it too. It's really good stuff. I highly recommend it. I'll drop a link in the bottom. No, I'm not sponsored by them. I just really like their tea. I've ordered a ton of different things from them. I think only one thing I've ever gotten did I not like. And it wasn't that I didn't like it. It was just that I was like, this is an herbal tea. And I'm not that big of an herbal tea fan. I'm more of a like black tea, green tea, red tea fan. And this was like a straight up like dandelions and flower petals tea, and it looked really cool. It was like purple, but it just tasted like weeds. So I couldn't do it. It's still sitting on my counter. My mug is incredibly snarky, as I'm so shaky, as all my mugs are. It says, "You would be nicer if you ate carbs," and then on the inside it says, "That is all." It is huge, which I love. I mean, if you can't eat carbs, don't eat carbs, but if you're only on a fad diet, whatever, I'll tell it like it is. You're just following the herd. Don't be a sheep unless you're going to give me wool. So that's what I'm drinking. That was a bit of a rant, but I do love my good teas. I like tea, I like coffee, and I like Diet Coke. I know. The Diet Coke just has to sneak in there because it's an oddity. All right, so some FOs. Let's get the show on the road. Oh, first of all, what I'm wearing. I don't usually wear knits because I don't knit garments typically, other than socks, and I'm not lifting my foot up here to show you. But I did want to get into it. We've discussed that before. I have needles on the way for my cardigan, but I do wear this a lot. This is about 4 years old. It is The Age of Brass and Steam, and it is on Farmer's Daughter Fibers Craggy Tweed, I think. Something tweedy. I think it's DK. I got 2 skeins of it for Christmas when I first started knitting 4 or 5 years ago from my husband. They're local to me-ish, again, meaning in Montana. And, you know, for some of you across the pond, keep in mind that Montana is like the same size as Germany. So When I say local, that means it's in Montana or Wyoming, and Montana is the size of Germany, so it could be a ways, but there's not very many of us. We're kind of spread out. Anyway, it is localish to me. I had seen it at a trunk show in another town here's knitting store, and I really liked it. I got a mini and a couple other things, and so my husband got me 2 skeins of this. I thought I used them both in this, but the other day when I was rearranging my stash, I found the other skein all caked up and ready to go, and I was like, I guess they need to make another shawl. So I'm excited to do that at some point. I think this actually was a shawl, but I shortened it and put the ending row like a whole section sooner and made it into a cowl, because I'd already knit the shawl for the Age of Brass and Steam for somebody else, and I was like, I don't really want to do it again. But I love it. I wear this thing all the time for the last 4 years. It doesn't really even have any pilling at all, and what little bit it does, you can't tell because it's tweed. It just blends right in. I just washed it and reblocked it the other day, and it's glorious. I mean, I wear it right up next to my neck all the time, and it's not scratchy at all. It's super soft. It doesn't bother me at all. It's like my go-to scarf. And I definitely am going to make another shawl out of it, but it's going to be a whole shawl. I found, when I was digging in my stash, I found some leftover fiber seed and something else. I don't remember what else, but I was like, oh look, they all just match perfectly, and I could double up the 2 fingerings to go with the decay, and I just need to find a pattern now. So if you got any ideas, it's going to be like, there's like 260-ish, 50, 30-ish yards of this, and by the time I cut it in half, there'll be maybe 230 yards of the other 2. So I would say like 400 to 500 yards of fiber in 2 to 3 colors. So if you got any ideas, send them my way in the comments below. And then I want it to be a little bigger than this, because this is really my go-to shawl, my go-to cowl, I mean. And I'm not really interested in replacing it yet. I've had it for 4 years, I've worn it for 4 years, and I really like it. It is cold in here, even though we have central heating and central air. For those of you across the pond, I know central air is like really uncommon, and it's way more common in the US, but I didn't grow up with that. I grew up poor, and so did my husband. So when we bought a house, it was a big deal for us that like, we're gonna have central air. We made them go back and put it in. And it stays there pretty consistent, like 70, 72 degrees in here. But by the windows, even though they're double paned and I have like insulating blinds, it's still a little chilly. I mean, I'm in short sleeves and it's -19 or whatever out there, but my neck's a little cold. My feet are freezing right now. So speaking of freezing feet, on to FO number 1. I'm not going to put these on blockers because I've already worn them, and the cuffs are stretched out, as you can see. So these are stop focusing on me. These are an ankle version of Broken Seed Stitch socks, which is a free pattern by Hannah Lavianiemi on Ravelry. I did a fish lips kiss heel, my typical wedge toe, and then I did a 1x1 twisted rib cuff. I really wanted to call that a brim for some reason. I used ridiculous yarns in the eggnog colorway for the lighter sections, the heels, toes, and cuff. And then the dark purple is Purple Kathy by Dear Mina Yarns, which has the lushest, skishiest, bestest MCN I have ever knit socks on, but I just am in love with it. And after I'd already recorded last episode, she got a hold of me and she kindly gave us a discount code for her shop, which I put in the down bar of last episode, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned it in this episode too. So the discount code is the Knitted Bean 15, or you can follow the link that I have in the show notes, and that will take you to her shop and automatically apply it. I just love this MCN. It's so good, and she has all kinds of other goods in there, like pole worth and fun things like that. I highly recommend her. She's just a nice little itty bitty indie dyer that I have fallen in love with and intend to stick with. So definitely go give her some lovin'. You get a couple light bulb stitch markers stuck onto your yarn. I did do these on a size 1 needle because of that MCN and how luscious it is. It poofed up my sock nicely, so I didn't, I typically knit on a 0 because I like a really dense fabric, but I got that dense fabric anyway with a 1 just because this yarn is so nice and round and plush. And then I have a little bit left over, so I have to decide what I'm going to do with that. It's in my leftovers bin. I have so many leftovers. I want to do like a scrappy blanket, but I don't want to do, I don't crochet. I mean, I know how, I learned how in high school, but I don't want to do it. I haven't done it in like 20 some years. If you can do math, that means you can figure out how old I am. And I want to do a northeasterly, but I don't know if I want to do a northeasterly and fingering, because I'd have to double the fingering. So, I don't know. And then there's the mitered square, but I don't know how to do a mitered square. I'd have to like look at it and learn, which is not a problem. I mean, I rarely ever have come across a knitting pattern that I'm like, oh, I just have to look at this and learn how to do it. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do it. Like, that never happens. I can always figure it out. It's never hard. But the mitered squares do really appeal to me because you can do big and then little and big, and I just want it to be really, really eclectically scrappy. Like my great-grandmother and my grandmother were both quilters, and my mom quilted something, and I used to quilt. I don't quilt anymore because it's very space intensive. Knitting I can take in my basket or my bag. Quilting, you have to set up the sewing machine and take the sewing machine down. But I love that. My grandma used to just cut up jeans and t-shirts, and that was our quilts, and I still have those quilts, and they're still rocking on. So I really love the idea of a knitted blanket that is like that sturdy, and an heirloom piece that just 70 years later still have. I mean, I have like my parents' American Bicentennial quilt from the 70s, and that's red, white, and blue. And I have a crocheted blanket from my great grandma who made it when she was like 100, and I have a baby blanket my mom made me when I was born that's quilted, and then I have a quilt that I made, and I have a quilt that my grandmother made for me when I was born. So I literally have a quilt from like 4 generations of my family in my closet, and they're all still doing fine. If anything, I would say mine is the least like craftsmanship, but it was only because that was one of my first quilts. But my grandmother used to, sorry, total tangent. My grandmother used to have this huge wooden quilting frame that my grandfather had attached to the ceiling in the living room, and she would lower it down with a winch, and he would watch TV over it while she went around and quilted by hand in the living room in the evening. So, there's a reason I got into knitting in my middle ages. It's hereditary. Okay, so off the tangent. And back to FO number 2. Remember I said my husband wanted a fall/spring hat. It wasn't as hot as his llama hat that I made him for winter. So I am done with that. This is the 2x2 free hat pattern by Angie on Ravelry. We'll give you some hat hair. He likes a brim. I don't like a brim, but he likes a brim. If it's good, it is an Gnarly Marley DK, which is 100% non-superwash merino by Undercover Otter. I apologize if you just heard my granny dog snore. She's old. In the color We Kill Our Tomatoes now that I was distracted by the dog. I can't remember if I said that. I don't get to knit with a lot of non-superwash yarns because a lot of places just don't sell them. I think superwash is very popular. But I liked knitting this. It was really fun. You know, I gave it to him in the skein and I was like, rub this on your bald little head, because he shaves his head, and tell me if that's going to be too scratchy for you. I'll knit the whole thing up and then have you be like, oh, my sensitive little noggin, I can't do this. And he was like, no, it's fine. And then, you know, once I blocked it even more, it softened up. I mean, sure, it feels rustic, but it's not itchy. I mean, I have part of my head shaved and it's not itchy on me. I don't know if I would. Yeah, I think I could even put it up against my neck and be fine. So, it has some really cool, I would totally recommend this hat. This is a great, like, starter hat. Never knitted a hat before, gonna knit a hat. It's free, it's a one skein project. It has some really cute decreases that are unfortunately kind of lost in the pattern here because of the swirling of the marling on his hat. But, which is why he picked it out. He told me it looked like a Dwarven helmet. It kind of does if you do it in a solid color, but he was okay that it was lost. He still likes it. And it explains very nicely how to make those decreases look really cute, you know, with your SSKs, then you knit two togethers, and like which way to angle them, how to make them look nice. So if you're looking for a one skein project, I recommend that. I did drop down a needle size because I don't have a size 6 US hat circular, but I do have a 5 because that's what I knit his hat on, and I think that's what I knit my hat on. And I was like, well, it'll do fine on a 5, whatever. And it did. And when I looked in like all the Ravelry pages, it also is like people were using different size needles, people were using different weights of yarn, and it didn't seem that it was messing things up too much. They were just like, oh, I just dropped a few stitches or not, which I didn't feel like doing the math for that, so I didn't do that. He's got kind of a big noggin anyway. But the interesting thing is that it said, you know, that it used like 130 or 127 yards, I think, or meters. I can't remember now which one it was, but anyway, so it used 127 or 129 or 227, 229, and I only had 220, and I was like, well, I might be putting a little bit of yarn chicken here. But when I knit it up, I only used 140. And I followed that pattern to a T. The only thing I changed was my needle size. So I don't know if they were just like, you can do this in one skein, and so they put down the amount that's typically in a skein of DK, or what. But I used a little over half the skein. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I wasn't playing yarn chicken at all. So that's my 2 finished objects. Moving on. Okay, so on to my shawl, my Tarot Daigle shawl by Caitlin Hunter, $7 pattern. I've talked about it several times, and I will continue to talk about it until it's done, which will probably be good 3 or 4 more episodes. I don't know, maybe not. I do every other week, maybe 2 episodes. I had designed the color work on my own and swapped it in for their color work because I wanted it to be flames for Eskel, because I based it off of Eskel from Witcher. And I know it's missing a flame. When I did my color work, I thought I was going to angle it, and it didn't. And so I have to double stitch that. And I'm going to put a picture in here of it all like stretched out properly the way that it's supposed to be, and it's so obvious it drives me nuts. There's no way I'm not fixing it. It is on Undercover Otter Merino Yak Silk, and it is custom dyed for me. They are Eskel Red, which is not commercially available. and Haunted Gold and Uncle Fester. It's very hard to show on here because the edge curls because it has a garter edge. It has a lace section that needs to be blocked out, yada yada. So that's why I'm gonna put the picture in. But I'll pull a Chevy roll here and pop this in my teeth. That's where you saw it last. So I did add a good 6 or 8 inches. I am so out of needle here. This is as wide as it gets though, and they said a 36 or a 40 needle, and I got a 36, and I really wish I got a 40 because I think that extra 4 inches would really help. But yeah, my progress is being kept by my beautiful little door knits, which are progress keeper. This is as wide as it gets. Well, tall, I should say, because it actually sits this way. This is as tall as it gets, and I will knit a little ways at this length, but I changed the shaping and then I cut it off towards the end. So it's about a third to a halfway done. It's starting to get a little bit of heft to it, which I like, because at the beginning I was like, oh, this is really light. Is this even going to keep me warm? But now that it's getting a little heft to it, I'm starting to really see how that's going to work, and I like it. So on the topic of like fandom inspired knits and stuff, I have been meaning to ask, I am so curious if anybody is actually watching this, which I don't think that many people are, but still I'm really curious for the like 12 of you that are watching, what your fandoms are. I mean, I'm super active in Witcher fandom, but I have other fandoms that I just like. I just don't like participate in them or write for them. You know, I like Castlevania and Good Omens, and there's some other ones that I'm fond of. Sorry, I had to take care of a little doggy. Yeah, some other ones I can get into, you know, the occasional like fandom blind stuff that, like, I know the fandom enough to know the characters, but not necessarily the whole story. So like all of Star Trek and Doctor Who, but like I used to be really big into Firefly. I still love that one. Stuff like that. I don't have Disney Plus, so I haven't watched The Mandalorian yet, and I kind of really want to get it so we can watch it. We have Amazon Prime and we have Netflix. We don't have cable. I'm like hesitant to add another third streaming service. We had Hulu for a little while too, and we were like, why do we have 3 streaming services? We never watch Hulu, so we dropped it. But I'm tempted, because I think not only would I like The Mandalorian, but I think my husband would like it too. So Cyberpunk 2077, I've dabbled a little bit in the game. It makes me motion sick, but I really want to see people explore like Jackie. Jackie's super cool, and he has a super cool look, and I'm just like, oh, can't we knit something for Jackie? Jackie, give it to his mom. So yeah, I'm really interested to know, like, if anybody is watching this, what fandoms are you into? You know, they can come from books, they can come from TV, they can come from games, movies, like fandom. It's everything, right? We all know this. It can be from anywhere. And I'm curious, like, what floats your boat? What, like, interests you and really draws your attention? So I really want to know, like, what are you, like, interested in? And even why, a little bit. Like, I mean, part of why I love about Witcher is there's so much moral gray area there. You're never really all the way good or all the way bad. I really like stories like that, because they are so much more human to me. People and characters are so much more human, because nobody's really all good or all bad. So that really is something that I'd like to know. Tell me about it. Okay, so other works in progress. I have the Samphire Socks by Helen Stewart from The Curious Handmaid. available on Ravelry as well. These are from the Sock Society, Handmade Sock Society #2, which my friend just brought me the Handmade Sock Society #4, which I'll talk about after this because I've already picked out the yarn for the Curly Mist socks, but I don't want to cast it on just yet. I have 2 socks on the needles and I kind of want to, I don't know, maybe finish 1 pair before I start a 3rd pair. Maybe. I don't know, I might start them anyway. Just depends. I'd have to knit them on 1s though because my 0s are occupied. So I'm knitting these on a size 1 because the yarn's pretty plump and because it's lace and I want it to show. I have Undercover Otter for the heels and toes. This is Annoying Orange on top and Octoman on the heel, and then it's going to have an annoying orange toe. The main sock is in Keel Build Toucan by A's Fiberwork. I'm so proud of myself for pronouncing that right. I had to think about it so hard. I can't say those 2 words together. And I'm gonna do a trick. Somebody did this trick and I'm in love with this trick because it shows the lace a little before, like here all the way down with the sock, and I really like it. If I can do it without making a big hot mess, which is entirely debatable, let me tell you. Entirely debatable. Just put it on a can. That's the trick. So what's the latest pattern? I wanted something that looked like Birds in Flight, kind of like the Flying Geese quilt. And this is not exactly that, but it's not too far off. And I really think once it's blocked out, it will look like that. Because in the pictures, it does, for sure. And I like it. I wasn't sure at first on the heel color because I thought, oh, you know, it might be like making everything look a little too pea green, but I'm okay with it now. Once there's some other colors got in the heel, then I was like, yep, I like this. That is resigning my knitting bowl right now. I am currently hooked on knitting it because my other sock is a hoe. It is half done. So this is my Farmer's Daughter Fiber February Sock Squad sock in A Test of Time. Time like the spice, which I love that. It's such a cute little pun. And I'll show you a good side here. It has some color work in it, though you're not gonna see much of it. There's a little bit of it because my art husband would like shoot me for not knowing the right word. The tone or the hue? I think it's the tone is the same between the 2 colors, the purple and the olive green brown. Which I love this olive green brown. Oh my god, I love it so much. I'm definitely making a second pair of socks out of that. Dolly shorties, but I love them. I took a black and white picture of it to post, hey, I got my stuff, and then of just the cuff when I had it done to show that I was working on it. And you can't tell the difference between the 2 yarns. And that's a great way to tell if your yarns have enough contrast for your color work to really pop. Because value, that's the word. Okay, my husband doesn't have to like chide me now. Value, they have the same value. And so, so I knew it wouldn't pop. And I was okay with that. At first I thought, no, maybe I'll do some cables with it. But I kept coming back to this pattern because it's February and I wanted some hearts. And this is the Dreaming of Happiness, aka on Ravelry it's known as the Unelma Honesta, which is probably mispronounced. But when you download it, it's titled Dreaming of Happiness. I think Unelma Honesta is like the native like maybe Native Hawaiian word for it. I kept coming back to this pattern because I wanted some hearts. I'd wanted to do some color work socks because I don't do color work, and I wanted to like test my toes at it. And I wanted hearts on there, but I did not want it to be like hearts because I'm not a big pink, hearts, red, candy person. I'm a little more tomboyish than that. And so I wanted it to be really subtle and you to just not even really be able to notice that these are February Valentine's Day socks. So this is my idea of Valentine's Day. So the Farmer's Daughter Sock Club this month was Bear Paw, which is 70% merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon, and I am in love. It's warm and soft, but not as soft as MCN. And the thing that I'm really in love with off this pattern and that I will take with me to other patterns is that cuff. It's called a Pico cuff and it's folded over. I won't give away the secret of how to do it because I can't remember if this is a paid pattern or not, but it's got little teeth on the edge and it just looks super cool. It's just as stretchy as any other cuff. I've tried this on, it fits great. I did go up one size from a 0 to a 1 for my color work, although I don't think I really needed to because I pretty actively like stretch my floats. Speaking of, we'll give a little float flash. They're not too shabby for somebody who doesn't do color work. And I'm happy. I need to start the second sock and I've put it off for a little bit because you need 2 needles to do this cuff and I only have one size 0. I know I have 2 because I specifically bought 2 so that I could do 2 socks and I can't find it. I should have 2 1s and 2 0s and I can't find it. I can only find the 1. So I had to use a 0 and then a 1 as like my spare needle, and that was really hard because the 0 stitches did not fit on the 1 very well. So I put it off a little bit. I'm waiting till I finish my toucan sock and then I'll start the other one of this. But as I mentioned, my friend bought me the Curious Handmade Sock Society edition 4, which started coming out at the beginning of February, and I'm so excited that I already picked out a yarn and I already caked it up. This is, sorry, my light is not that great today. I was going to record earlier, but my vaccine put me back a little. This is Mountain Colors hand painted twizzle sock, I think. And don't even ask me what the colorway is. I don't remember. I can't find the tag right now. But it was a gift from my sister for Christmas this year. And she got me 3 nice skeins of yarn. One that's going in my cardigan that she didn't even know I already had the rest of the fade for. This one, and then another sock yarn. And she was like, I don't know if I got the right things. And I was like, oh, the ladies at my local yarn store must have just like pulled up my account and been like, she likes these things because you got everything right. So I can't wait to start the curling mist socks on that, but I would have to do them on a 1 because that's the only needle I have free, and I don't want to do them on a 1, I want to do them on a 0. So I think I have to wait until I finish my other sock squad sock, the one with the Pico cuff, before I can start that. That's it for whips. On to acquisitions, of which I have none. I could talk a little bit about dream knitting. So the shawl that Aiden mentioned in the last episode that they liked as one of their collaborations when I asked them about collaborations, the rainbow, that is a shawl that I don't think I'd ever seen before, but when I saw it I immediately was like, oh my god, I have the perfect yarns for this. I had ordered some yarn from Ply Yarn, Pancake and Lulu yarn, that was a like limited amount called Toxical on a slub, and I really liked it and I ordered it, and then I ordered some like 4 minis to go with it in singles that were just contrasting and matching colors. And I thought that I just really like this slub and I want to make a shawl out of it. I have no idea what shawl, but I'm going to make it, and I'm going to buy the yarn now because I'll have it then when I figure out what pattern I'm going to make. So I basically just ordered myself a do-it-yourself shawl kit and then I was like, I want to stuff this in my stash until I figure out what shawl it's a do-it-yourself for. So then when Aiden mentioned the rainbow relay shawl, I was like, oh, it takes one big skein and a bunch of minis, which is exactly what I have, and this is the shawl that I need to use that yarn on. So I have acquired the pattern and I already have the yarn, so now I'm just waiting for the needles to arrive, and that will be cast on fairly soon. Maybe before the next podcast, depends on how much work I get done on my Eskel shawl. And then of course I think it's called London Fog, is the cardigan that I want to knit, and I have needles coming for that, which with the way the postal service is, I have no idea when they'll get here, but whenever they do get here I'm gonna cast that on right away. I'm not like waiting for anything else to get done with that because it's a garment and it's something I'm just gonna take my time with. Since I'm new to garment knitting, I'm just gonna take my time, I'm gonna learn it, and it's gonna be fine. So that's kind of a little dream knitting. Okay, so if that's all you're here for is the knitting content, you can and run away if you want, unless you're brave and you want to hear about fan things. And if you are a knitter and a fan and you want to hear about some fandom stuff, then stick around. I have a little bit of stuff I want to talk about. The first thing, first of all, both of them are in Witcher because that's my main fandom. The first thing that I want to talk about is an event being run by my writing partner from Germany. Their name is Dai, and I have been writing with them for over a year, maybe a year and a half, and they've been betaing for me for maybe 2. I've done them for a while. Anyway, so they are running a Witcher Wheel of the Year writing event, which is just a kind of short form writing that's going to last throughout the year. So it is not you have to write 10,000 words, 5,000 words, 50,000 words. It's you write what you want to write. If you want to write a drabble, you write a drabble. If you want to write an opus, write an opus. And that's up to you, okay? They are not the boss of you. You are the boss of you. They just want to see people involved in the fandom, just like me. So it is Wheel of the Year based on the holidays that are in Witcher. So things like Beltane and Imbolc and Yule and so on and so forth. And there is an Archive of Our Own, or AO3 collection that your works can be posted to. If you post your work on AO3, you can select a collection and it'll go in that collection. The prompts are revealed throughout the year, so we've already had the first event just recently. And then the next one coming up is going to be March 30th, I think. If not, I'll correct myself down here. The prompts are already out for it. The prompts are released at least 3 months in advance throughout the year so that you have lots of time to write for it if you want to write something bigger, or if you're somebody who has many works going and it takes you a little longer to like piece in even a smaller work within your schedule. And all the info is on Dreamwidth. There's a page on Tumblr. There's a page on Pillow Fort. I know Pillow Fort is down right now, but when it comes back up, it's still on there. You don't have to follow the prompts strictly, just like there's no word count, you know, write what you want to write. Interpret the prompts how you want to interpret them. If you want to interpret it as a smutty prompt, great. If you want to interpret it as a not smutty prompt, then don't. I know that they do have some prompts that kind of lean towards the smut and some that kind of lean not towards the smut so that anybody can participate, but interpret it however you want. And if you want to write something and it doesn't fit one of those prompts, but it fits in book or whatever, great, just write it and put it in there. Add it to the Wheel of the Year collection. It's fine. This is not like a strict event where we have an iron grip on everything that is done. It is not like that at all. The mod for it is Die, and you're welcome to contact them on Dreamwidth, or you could try on Tumblr. I know they're not very active on Tumblr at all. The best place to get a hold of them was on Pillow Fort, so hopefully that gets back up, and then you can get a hold of them on there. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the Witcher Craft Swap 2021, and this is something that I am participating in. I have signed up for. I will, just like the other one, I'll drop links below. You can go to the link, you can fill out a little Google form saying what you're willing to do, what you'd like, etc. It's being run by Anon Blueberry on Instagram, and the signups are open right now until February 21st, or until like it gets to be big enough that they don't feel like they can manage it all on their own, because they're just one person and, you know, it's not their full-time job. They're doing it fandom style out of the kindness of their heart in their spare time, because that's how we do things. And the idea is that you're going to make one main craft piece, 2 small extras, and then a card, and your mailing will start on May 10th. There will be 2 check-ins between the end of signups and mailing, which will be mandatory, and all that information is on the link. So those are just 2 things for Witcher that I would really love to see people participate in. So go check them out. I mean, people spending their time just doing stuff for you so that you have stuff to do in the middle of a pandemic when you're stuck at home doing everything by Zoom. Let's like touch some real objects. So on to Fic Recs, which I apparently slacked on because I did not put this in my notes. I had it up and I thought I put it in my note and saved it, but I must have not. So give me 2 seconds and I will pull it up. Okay, so I am not going to recommend a specific fic this time. I'm going to recommend a writer and maybe a fandom for which that person writes. So the writer is Tyellas, that's Tyellas, and they do write for a bunch of fandoms, Mad Max and Terminator. And the one that I am interested in recommending to you is The Shape of Water, the movie, which is 2 or 3, 4 years old, something like that. I never saw the movie, but I know what it's about because I've seen Hellboy and I've seen other like genre movies where you have the idea of like this person who's not quite a person, right? And I've seen the previews, and then I've read a bunch of fanfic. So I know that the idea of the movie is like this woman who can't speak for whatever reason, and this amphibious man who also can't obviously speak like humans. And the woman is viewed kind of like as a less important person because she doesn't speak, and she's female, and this is set in the 40s, 50s, something like that. And she's working in the research center where they have this aquatic man, and she helps to break him out because the government is testing on him. And so there are a lot of like crossover fics with this, which make it so that like maybe this aqueous man was like Abe Simeon's dad or something like that from Hellboy. So like people pull from different places to like drag different things, which is why I mentioned Hellboy earlier. So there's a lot of fanfic out there about like this woman falling in love with this man, because as far as I gather in the movie, that is kind of the idea, is that they fall in love. And so Taylor is just a great writer. I've read a decent amount of their stuff, some of it unpublished, some of it published. From the Shape of Water fandom, I haven't read their other stuff, and I tried to pick one, but I couldn't. So I'm just gonna wreck them all. Like, you just go to Tylus's page and read through them and find the text to find out which one you like and check that out, because there are a lot of one-shots that are in the like 2,000, 3,000, 1,000 word range that are just, they're just good. There's a lot of focus on like the ability to communicate without words, and the ability of love to not be only a human thing. And that is really interesting, I think, in that modern isn't the word that I'm looking for. Mainstream is the word that I'm looking for. In mainstream, like movies and things, there's so much focus on affection and love being all verbal and all like, it's a thing only humans could do. Like, it's what makes us special. But is it really what makes us special? Right? Because then you go and you see like, you know, this penguin and that penguin that mate for life, and they're affectionate with each other, and they don't have verbal, and they are not human. So I think it's a good rec to just go through and see with the tags what you would like, because there's a lot of like variety there that you can pick from. You know, whether you're looking for something more soft or something more like just action and not smut. So that is my big rec, rather than just one fic. And this is what I mean when I say sometimes I like to just go read Fandom blind. I don't really know what that movie is about, but I know the fic is decent. That's it. That's all I have for you. I hope you're enjoying me rattling on at the camera about nerdy things and knitting, because I'm having fun with it, and I don't want Thomas, my little frog who sits on top of the camera to remind me where to look, to get bored and get moved to the shelf. So thanks everybody for joining me, and have a good evening, good day, good morning, wherever you're at, whatever time zone. Stay safe, stay warm if you're in some place that's super chilly. And if you can get vaccinated, go get vaccinated. When it comes to you, when it's your turn, go get it. Save us all. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for watching. And if you've enjoyed watching me, please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe. If you would like to know when I upload a new podcast, hit the little bell and it will send you a notification so that you know when there is a new one.